Full swing! It's time for a round of golf. Each player is carrying a driver golf club and has one ball of their playing colour. A tee is set out to aim the ball at a speed panel. Each player in turn places their ball on the tee and must use as much force as they can. Using their driver, they have to strike the golf ball into the speed panel. The panel will then record a yard distance. For instance, it might say 120 yards. This distance is converted into points for each player. They earn 1 point for every 10 yards they score. If the score is not a rounded number, such as 134 yards or 98 yards, the end number is taken off the yard tally to make 13 and 99 points respectively. The ball keys. 6 bubbles of each player's colour are mixed up in a larger translucent bubble. These bubbles are also mixed in with 6 white bubbles. The players must dig their hands into the big bubble using the 4 hands-in slots provided, one for each player. They must dig in the machine and try to draw one of their own colour bubbles from the machine and place it into a 6-bubble panel next to them. If they draw a colour other than their own, or a white bubble, they must put it back in the big bubble. A chute at the top of the bubble will allow them to do so. The first player to get their 6 bubbles ends the game and scores 15 points. They confirm this by hitting a button beside their panel. If a buzzer goes off, they have not completed their panel, but if an alarm goes off, they have won. The other players score 10 points for second place, 6 for third, and 3 for fourth. Pipe down! This isn't to make people be silent or quieter, it's the name of the game. 4 long open tubes are set out in a line for the 4 players. At the bottom end of the tube there are 4 baskets of each player colour on a revolving table. This table makes a full revolution every 4 seconds. Each player is given a basket of their coloured bubbles. They have 60 seconds to roll their coloured bubbles down the tube and try to land them in the baskets of their own colour. The players score 1 point for every ball that makes it into their basket at the end of the game. A ball that lands in another player's basket will not count. The maze. This game tests the skills of nerve and concentration. Each player is standing by a table with the same maze design. As an example, let me show you this. The maze has only one escape route and many dead ends to confuse each player. The ball in the maze starts in one corner of the table and the finish hole is in the other corner. Each player will be facing away from the table before the game begins so that they don't cheat. When they are asked to turn to their tables, the game will begin. Within 90 seconds, the players must use their hands to tilt the table and try to roll the ball towards the finish hole at the opposite end of the table. If a player finishes the maze, they will score 1 point for every second that was left on the clock when they finished. For example, if there was 45 seconds left on the clock when they finished, they would score 45 points. Players who fail to finish the maze will score nothing. Bubbles in the hole. This game requires speed and patience. Small slopes are laid out in front of the players and several holes are on that ramp. Let me show you one example. The players have 30 seconds to roll their bubbles up the ramps and try to get them into the holes. The different coloured holes mark the points they will score if the bubbles go into these colours. There will be small raised rings surrounding the holes. This will reduce the chances of the balls going into the hole successfully. The players simply have to score as many points as they can. They will score 1 point if it goes into a blue hole, 2 points if it goes into a yellow hole, 3 for a green, and 5 for a red. After the 4 main games have been chosen and played, the total scores are announced. The 2 players who score the highest go on and face the head-to-head in order to decide who goes through to face the prize bubbles. If there are more than 2 qualifiers, a tiebreaker question will be asked to those applicable in order to decide who gets the position. The head-to-head games are chosen from a selection of 3 games. The winner of the head-to-head game goes through to the prize bubbles. Pipelined. Like a game of Connect 4, but with bubbles, just like the title of the show says. 7 pipes are made to hold up to 6 bubbles each, just like a traditional Connect 4 game. Each player in turn must place their bubbles in the pipes and try to make 4 in a row, column, or diagonal. The player with the highest score goes first. The player who completes a line of 4 in any direction wins. If there is no clear winner when the board is filled, the closest player takes the victory. Head-to-head maze. Just like in game selection number 10, the 2 players who are left standing go head-to-head and have to face the maze to get their bubble to the out hole. But in the head-to-head game, the players face 3 smaller mazes. The players race to complete these mazes one by one. The first player to complete all 3 mazes wins and goes through to the final. Rolling target. This game requires the 2 surviving players to know their bowling skills, but this time they have 3 turns each. A single ring target is marked on a runway. The players who stand take turns to roll one of their 3 shots down the runway and try to stop the ball inside the ring. When both players have taken their 3 turns, the one with the most balls in the middle of the ring wins and goes through to the final. If there is a tie, the winner is determined by who was closest to the center spot. The winner of the head-to-head game goes through to try and win the prizes stashed behind the main Bubbledome. For the main Bubbledome, a transparent dome is laid in the middle of the studio. The last player standing is stood inside of that dome, whilst 100 bubbles of the 5 different colours are laid on a bouncy castle floor below him or her. Blue, green, red, yellow and white. In the middle of the dome there are 4 pipes with individually coloured rings on them. Within 60 seconds, the player inside the dome must grab the coloured bubbles, avoiding white, and put them down into the corresponding coloured pipes in the middle. There are 20 bubbles of each colour, and there are 3 coloured bubbles specially known as padlock bubbles. The player wins prizes behind each colour by binning the padlock bubbles down the pipes. The player will not know which bubbles are the padlock bubbles, so it is best just to get all of them. The white bubbles do not have a corresponding coloured pipe and must be avoided. After the time is over, the player is exiled from the dome. The player will only be able to tell whether they have binned the 3 padlock bubbles of each colour when the corresponding coloured pipe lights up. If a pipe lights up, the presenters tell them what was hidden behind each colour, whether they have won it or not. After this has been done, the presenters give their vote of thanks to the players taking part, the studio audience, and to the viewers at home. The presenters then give their goodbyes, the credits scroll goes on screen, and then the show is over. Alternately, the presenters can finish the show with a catchphrase, such as, "You want some entertainment and you're looking for some fun? Don't go mumbling, get bubbling." Kids love to see colour, and I do too. A simple idea like Bubbledome was created to try and combat the lack of ideas like that. And kids, I'm sure, loved to play with ball pools when they were younger. For to play bubbles between the ages of 11 to 15 is simply to try and make them feel young again. Now that's a very good question actually, because I was not influenced by another show or idea to make this type of game. It just came out of my mind to show that I have a very good variety of ideas in my head. I thought to myself, why not try to make people think they were young children having fun? And that's what I made this for. And that's the end of my explanation. As usual, the comments and ratings are open for your views and opinions. Thanks for listening.